My name is Whitney McGuire, and I'm the Associate Director of Sustainability at the Guggenheim Museum in New York. This is an inaugural role for the institution, and I believe we are one of the first museums in the country to designate a role for sustainability, so it's a big deal. What I've identified as our core areas of focus are buildings and facilities, staff and culture, and community impact and engagement. So with our buildings and facilities, obviously we have targets that we want to meet and benchmarks that we need to set within our greenhouse gas emissions, our waste management, water usage, energy usage, and identifying ways that we are inefficient. So that could be anywhere from like our HVAC system to our climate set points for our artworks, any number of things. Our staff and culture really does focus on our exhibitions program. So I help our curators articulate our climate commitment to artists because they are really leading the industry in terms of sustainability and climate change and a climate focus. Training curators, training our exhibitions departments, tracking our carbon for our exhibitions, tracking travel and shipping. Energy is one of the largest areas of focus for our exhibitions, so that's anywhere from like our buildings, but also the transportation for the artworks and the couriers themselves. And in terms of our community impact and engagement, that's where our education focus is. But we aim to communicate and work with our general public and stakeholders to really communicate our commitment to sustainability authentically. We have teen programs that are focused on sustainability as well, so I support those where I can. We're not emitting as much as, say, oil and gas industries or fashion. Our emissions are relatively low compared to other industries and other tourism-heavy industries, but our proximity to some of the world's largest emitters is quite close because of the nature of the art business and the industry. So arts and culture has this potential to really impact the climate movement in a way that is significant. Arts and culture in the U.S. account for about 4% of our GDP, which is nearly $1 trillion. So there's a lot of spending power that exists within the arts and culture sector. So we have the ability to really shift this narrative from a place of the importance of the preservation of culture. We are looking at the potential of our arts and culture and our precious artifacts not existing, in the near future. So it really is important for us to get ahead of what we can and do what we can in this movement to make sure that our culture is preserved for generations to come. Specifically, our Goog Teens programs in our education department are leading us in terms of community engagement and impact in New York. They have a sustainability series for teens that they've developed, and I believe we're nearing the end of it. So it's been a very successful program thus far, and hopefully they will continue it. We also host the World Around Symposium each year, which is an architectural and design-focused symposium that really does delve deep into these difficult questions about climate change and architecture, and that's open to the general public. But we are really excited to see what more we can do to educate the public and to learn from our stakeholders as well. What nature and culture really means is, going back to this three-pronged strategy of buildings, facilities, staff, culture, and community impact and engagement. With the buildings themselves, right, we have to we have to consider our proximity to nature, our impact on nature, so that we can continue to preserve culture. We have the advantage of being close to Central Park, near a reservoir, but as we know, impacts of the climate crisis are only increasing and getting more severe. So we're looking at the resiliency of our buildings, so that we can continue to preserve culture and also interact with nature in a way that doesn't disrupt it any further. In New York, the idea of artists really leading this conversation as well. We're seeing more nature-based art come to the fore, and that is really moving the needle forward for institutions to really follow suit, to promote and display this work that is really ephemeral in nature. That our conservation department is really looking at the materials that are used to preserve paintings and protect them, and art in general. We're conducting life cycle analyses within the industry and materials that are used to conserve these paintings or art works. We're also looking at the ways that we display works. These choices to build walls or not, how we're discarding the materials once an exhibition ends. These are all factors that are driving our involvement with this relationship between nature and culture within art. Recently, one of our most comprehensive carbon studies to date was done on Cecilia Vicuña's Spin Trianguline exhibition in 2021. Cecilia Vicuña, in conjunction with her exhibition Spin Trianguline, created a living quipu performance where the material that was used for the quipu, I believe it was a wool-based material, was well researched in terms of the dye and the technique that it was, the extraction technique, and also the end of life of the material itself, so that when it was released into the Hudson River, the idea was that it would not disrupt the natural ecosystem within the river. So that is an example of how an artist is engaging with nature and culture in their contemporary practice, and how we are holding space for that to happen. Art is incredibly powerful. At the forefront of any movement for social or cultural change, art is at the heart of movements, whether that is protest art or posters. Art has the potential to really shift paradigms because it allows us to think differently about our reality and to consider possibilities that we might not have considered otherwise. I believe that museums are spaces for this discourse to happen, and we are really privileged to be at the center of some of these movements for change. So when I think about art and its impact on the climate, I really think that it is vital to any change that we really want to see towards sustainability and for the future. We have this beacon of culture and architecture in our city that we are really proud to work to preserve, as well as the art within it. The shape of the building itself is very unique. It is void of columns and walls within the rotunda. I think that any movement is as strong as the coalitions that support it or that are built within it. So we are very intentional about working with other institutions within our constellation and even within New York City and some on the West Coast to learn about their approach to sustainability and to learn how we can support each other. So I do see the constellation working with our fellow UNESCO World Heritage sites in that manner to do information exchange and to grow our initiatives that we have developed internally to share resources, really elevate art and culture into this global conversation about the urgency of climate change and addressing the climate crisis intentionally. We are leading the way in terms of having a dedicated role for sustainability. We still have a long way to go. Bill Bow, our one of the museums in our constellation, is really leading it by example. They are tracking their carbon regularly. They are experimenting with materials for walls. They have committed to benchmarking and drawing down their carbon emissions overall. They have a green team just like us. They're really doing a lot of work to support our climate commitment as a constellation. So we're all strong in different ways, but there are other institutions that are also really remarkable. I think Glenstone Museum is doing remarkable work within environmental sustainability. MoCA LA also appointed a director of sustainability and strategy, and so did the Getty. So I look forward to continuing to meet with my colleagues outside of New York, within New York, and within the constellation to share information, to just build our power within this climate movement.